to pay homage to him.
We have always been the prize because we have always had and still have something that other people won't, think they can't do without, and don't care to pay for. Because we have always been the prize, we have been under siege for over 3,000 years. Nothing that ever brought into Africa from the outside was meant to do the African any good.
She made me to know my history, to know my roots. So I grew up with a love for myself and secure within myself, never feeling inferior and certainly not feeling superior, but that chip on the shoulder that the young lady spoke about is my self-assurance, my confidence, my ability to speak the truth without fear. I don't bend when I don't have to. I don't scratch where I don't itch. I look white people in the eye and speak honestly and truthfully and candidly and unhypocritically to you. That's not a chip. That's just self-assurance that comes from self-knowledge. Teach your children that, and whether we are here or there, we'll be able to make a future for ourselves.
Who are you? You don't know? Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now?
In fact, recently, some lot of garbage is written in books by people who call themselves historians, make them appear as if we have to thank Lyndon Baines Johnson for the advancement because he signed the Civil Rights Bill. Of course he signed it. But while he was signing it, we were in the streets burning the country down. You better hurry up and sign it. Burn the whole country down. Do it quick. But if you're not careful, you will thank Lyndon Baines Johnson.
I say, now, give us that poetry on number 7. He wanted to go to heaven, so I took him in 7. You took him in 7. I am the king of the world. Hold it. I'm pretty. Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
So we always say the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, that I am a revolutionary.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Melanated Power Hour. I'm your host, Sam Polk Jr., and I'm so thankful and so blessed to have you back with us one more time as we discuss issues pertinent to the African diaspora. And once again, for those who are new to the show, the African diaspora is anywhere that black people may be, whether it be Jackson, Mississippi, Nashville, Tennessee, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Barbados, you name it. We recognize those places as our homes away from home, but we also recognize the fact that we are indeed African, and the continent of Africa is our home indeed. I am joined again by the man, the myth, the legend, the funniest man I know, comedian Just Will. What say you, my brother?
Man, it's going down, man. This Saturday coming up, man, I got another show, and I am ready to get on stage and strut my stuff, man. Dude, this is a very important show for me, man, simply because this week is tough for me.
Okay.
This is the week of March 17th. This is the week that I lost my mother.
Oh, wow.
St. Patrick's Day. That's why I don't like that day. I don't, it doesn't have anything to do with the day.
Yeah,
it's just
but
that,
the correlation.
Right. And a lot of people say, oh, St. Patrick's Day, you wearing green, you doing that. Well, I have a different memory of St. Patrick's Day that started back when I was in the 8th grade, man. It's just not been a real good day for me. So I'm doing this show simply because I want to stay busy. And I tell everybody, man, I try to keep busy so it doesn't depress me or put me in a state to where I dealt with depression a lot, man, when I lost my mother, man. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Absolutely.
And it's just a really, really hard time for me, man. So,
Yes, sir.
So this week, you know what I'm saying, this week is really important to me. And this comedy show, to get up there and try to fight through the emotions that I'm feeling this weekend and tell jokes and make other people laugh, even though I'm really, I'm not over it, man. I know. You're never gonna be over.
Something like that. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, man. So I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna turn up and I'm gonna have a good time and I'm gonna make people laugh and enjoy this week as opposed to being depressed.
And that is a genius way of dealing with that instead of turning inside and keeping that in. You found an outlet to deal with it, man. That's brilliant. Today we're gonna try to make a correlation. I want to give a shout out first to Asar Imhotep. He's a brilliant scholar that has this concept where he believes that we as African Americans should form a new religion, and he correlates it with traditions from the continent to things that we do here that we brought over with this thing called epigenetics. Epigenetics is basically genetic memory, things that you still do that your ancestors used to do. You just don't know why you do them still. You see what I'm saying? It's a brilliant concept, and I'm borrowing some of his scholarship to make this point to the audience if I can.
Okay, now before we do that, Sam, I know you're a big fan of Pullman porters and prize fighters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And here recently, man, we lost a great man, somebody who was a pioneer in the boxing world, man. Well, I'm not gonna say pioneer, but man, he was one of the greats from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we just want to say a few words about
Marvelous
man,
Marvin.
Yeah.
By the way, that's his first name. That ain't no nickname.
What, Marvelous?
Marvelous, yeah. Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Hey, that's dope.
That's dope. It is, man.
Yeah, because I mean, you know what? Certain parents, and in that era, they would name their kids certain things simply because they, you know, it was no respect.
Build in respect.
Yeah, so you had to respect them just by calling their name.
Yes, sir. I knew some people named Sir.
Yeah.
And King.
Yeah.
And Prince and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's absolutely where that comes from. Marvelous Hagler came onto the scene at the end of the heavyweight era. The heavyweight era is what I would call, you know, Ali, Frazier, Foreman, Sonny Liston, all those guys. Ali probably the last one standing. When he left the scene, it allowed the little guys to shine a lot more. So the 80s kind of, our generation, you know, it kind of became the middleweight generation, right?
Right.
Hagler definitely is the top middleweight of that era, number one, because Hagler was always a middleweight. Hearns, Duran, Leonard, people don't really look at it like that, but they were welterweights and lightweights. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Hagler started a middleweight, he ended a middleweight. His discipline, he never got fat, never got overweight. He just stayed like that his whole career, you know what I mean? When I think of a warrior, I think of Hagler. Memories of watching him before a fight, and how he would punch himself in the stomach and punch himself in the head to get himself ready. I used to have an old video clip of him running up a mountain, and he was just screaming at the top of his lungs, "War, war, war," as he was running up the mountain. That's what I picture, right? But besides his aggressiveness, he was technically one of the most skilled fighters you ever wanted to see. The best transition between southpaw and orthodox, the best I ever saw. He would be fighting in a southpaw stance, and the next thing you know, he throwing a left jab. You'd be like, wait, what? Like, how did he you know, he was smooth, man.
Can I ask you a question? Because, and maybe I'm jumping too soon into this, man, but because the first time I you know, I wasn't a big boxing fan. I wasn't. I mean, I knew of boxers. I knew of Muhammad Ali because of my mother.
Yeah.
But just watching boxing, I just really didn't do that. But it was a clip that caught me, man, on YouTube. And it was these two gentlemen right here fighting, and they looked like they really didn't like each other, man. I mean, it was, man, even like, you know how normally, you know, people, they look like, oh, it's a fight, I'm finna get paid now. These two look like, man, I'm finna kill this motherfucker. I mean, dude, they look, if you look at the clip, like, neither one of them looked like that this didn't look like a sporting event.
Absolutely. It looked like Rome and the
Yeah. They look like, man, somebody ain't leaving this ring.
Absolutely. Tommy the Hitman Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler did not like each other. Those were the good old days when it was like, now you can have 5 different champions and they're all chilling. Back then it was like, there ain't but room for one. Like if you got 2 belts and I got 1, I got to have them. We got to have an undisputed thing right here, and that's some of the impetus behind it. But mainly, Tommy Hearns was a welterweight, and the audacity to think that you can bring your little skinny ass up here and win my middleweight championship is the reason Hagler didn't like him, and Hearns didn't like Hagler because of his attitude toward him. One of the most amazing things about that fight, it only lasted, 2 rounds?
Yeah.
It's got more action packed in it than most 15-minute rounds. And the funny thing about it is, Hagler, one of the best jabs you ever want to see, one of the best straight rights you ever want to see. Technically proficient, technically sound, a master boxer. Hagler switched from southpaw to orthodox, outstanding left hooks to the body, just a total technician, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hagler knows that Hearns can only win if he can keep him away with his jab. Hearns knows I need my jab to keep Hagler away, but can't nobody keep Hagler off of them with just a jab, right?
Right.
So you know what they do? They just say, fuck the boxing, let's go.
And
that's
did.
what it looked like.
Man, it was great, man. It was great.
And what you got was plenty, but it only lasted 2 rounds because no humans can take that kind of punishment for an extended amount of time. And it just so happens that Hagler was the naturally heavier guy. So it got to Hearns a little quicker. But the worst broken nose Hagler ever suffered was in that fight. Look, they almost stopped the fight after the first round because his nose was broken so bad.
Damn.
Like a plastic surgeon say he never saw a car accident victim with a nose that damaged. And if you go back and watch that fight, you can see it happen in the corner where Hearns hit him with a right cross. I mean, it just shattered his nose. That's the point when you see blood just covering.
I saw that.
Face.
Yeah.
And Hagler, like, in the corner, they said, we're going to give you one more. We got to stop it because that's too bad. He come out and stop it. That's just greatness. You know what I'm saying? My first memory of Hagler was him fighting Robert the Beast Mugabe, an African champion.
Okay.
But my fondest memory of Marvin Hagler is I'm in the 5th grade, and it's the big Leonard Hagler fight. But I remember it so vividly because that's one of the first fights I couldn't watch because this new thing called pay-per-view had come in. Before that, they were showing fights on ABC.
Right.
You know, HBO kind of messed it up a little bit, but you still could catch it.
Right.
And you had to pay like $30 for this fight, and my parents wasn't
They
about to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one Saturday night, the family load up in the car and they go to the mall. I think it was Metro Center Mall or Jackson Mall or whatever. If you around my age, you remember when you could go to the mall, Bro Brown, and where they would sell television, it would just be TVs everywhere, and all the TVs was on. For whatever reason, when we went in there, the mall obviously had ordered the fight or they got it for free, and the fight was on every TV in there. So I got to watch that. I think it's when we got there, it may have been in the 3rd round, and I got to watch that whole fight. You know, in the mall while my parents shopped and stuff. They were like, just stay right there. You know what I'm saying? and I watched the whole fight. And every guy in there and every little boy in there parked right in front of one of them televisions and watched that fight. And that's how I saw for the first time Hagler Hearns. I'll never forget that. Every time that fight comes up, I'm automatically transported back to that mall.
That was Leonard, right?
Leonard and Hagler, yes, sir.
Hey, now, why do you think people say? Because it was like people are split between that fight.
Sure, yeah.
And they say 1-1. They say the other one. Why do you think? Yeah.
Debate. Well, number one, because it was such a contested fight. Like a pick'em. It was a split decision. Number two, you got Hagler guys, you got Leonard guys.
Right.
I might be one of the most rarest guys where I'm both. You see what I'm saying? One weird thing about this, and then I'm gonna share a memory with you. I mean, a rumor with you.
Okay.
One weird thing is Hagler is about the best southpaw I ever saw. For those who don't know that, that's a guy who jabs with his right hand, and that's wrong. You're supposed to jab with your left hand. But if you're right-handed, you want your power behind you, your weaker hand in front, so you can bring the power behind you. But if you're right-handed, it feels natural to jab with your right hand because you're using it way more. But it's common sense would tell you that, but boxing rules, it's the opposite, right? Hagler fought southpaw. Some people say he was ambidextrous, but whatever. He should have been fighting orthodox, but he was fighting southpaw, right? That's one of the knocks on him. Of all the people he destroyed, the asterisk would be, well, he only beat him because he's so orthodox. And you know how southpaws are wild and they don't really box the way he's supposed to. He couldn't stand there, right? So when he got the opportunity to fight Leonard, he fought orthodox. He didn't fight southpaw. I always believe that you should do what got you there. Dance with the girl that brought you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If something worked all this time, don't change it, right?
Right.
But he wanted to prove he could beat a master boxer boxing an orthodox style. I think that hurt him. I think if he had fought southpaw, his natural size advantage, being a natural middleweight, would have been enough to defeat Sugar Ray. But Sugar Ray was able to put on a show because the southpaw thing wasn't even really an aspect of it. In fact, when Leonard was training, he couldn't handle them southpaws. If you read all the reports of that day, they was whooping him in sparring. So he got lucky in that aspect. The other thing is there's a rumor, Marvelous Hagler, a Boston guy, kind of mob affiliated, that he bet on himself. And the mob had something to do with it, where if he bet against himself, and if he lost, his prize for that fight would triple 3 times. Y'all, at this time he was making like $13 million. So just do the math. What's that? $39 million.
Right.
To bet against yourself.
Right.
Not saying that that's true, and if it is true, not saying that he was trying to lose. He just said, I'm gonna make it harder for myself to win by not fighting southpaw, fighting orthodox, and I'm gonna see if I can beat him. I probably can't, but I'm gonna see. And he lost, right? Funny thing about that, unlike any other boxer I ever saw, when he retired after that fight, he ain't never come back. You don't ever see that in boxing, right? Even if you decide you don't want to come back. Either money problems force you back because you can't do nothing else, or you ain't got no money problems, but you like Floyd Mayweather. Why not make another $40 million if I could, right?
Right.
But he just disappeared. And when he disappeared, guess where he go?
Where?
Italy, the mob, and he become a big movie star over there. So I'm not saying, yeah, he was like Sylvester Stallone in Italy, making action movies. So not saying that he threw that fight, because he fighting too hard to have thrown the fight. But why wasn't he fighting southpaw? Looked like he was making it a little bit harder for himself. You see what I'm saying? And he rolled out into the sunset. But that's just a rumor, but it's interesting and it's kind of plausible. You know what I'm saying? But R.I.P. to Marvelous Hagler, one of my favorites and one of the all-time great middleweights, of all time.
That's what's up,
rest
man.
Rest in peace. Yes, sir.
So what you got for us today, man?
We're going to talk about Africanisms. And epigenetics and things that we do now currently that we don't know why we doing. And we are totally unaware that epigenetics is that thing that we do from our ancestors, even though we don't know where it came from. And there's some things that we brought over here from the continent that we carry on. And we're going to try to keep it a little lighthearted and have some fun with it, right?
Okay.
But when you think about home training, if you do a Google search of it, right?
Right.
The first thing that'll pop up to you will be an image sort of like this one. It'll be an image of a white person, because the narrative of anything is always told from a white perspective, right?
Right.
So what do white people consider home training? At home working out,
right?
Aerobics, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, Bro Brown, what do black people consider to be home training? Now, when we say home training, what are we actually doing at home?
Well, first of all, if you hear home training, that means you out doing some shit you ain't got no business doing.
Absolutely. And replace the white woman holding the home training sign doing her aerobics,
right,
with a black woman or a black man with a belt,
right.
And this is how we train up our youth, right?
Right.
That's a natural African American tradition that we carry from the continent. I'm gonna try to make you see why in a minute.
Now, you said home training is unique to African Americans.
Yes, sir.
Why is that? I mean, why don't other ethnic
other
groups?
Do that?
Why don't they do that? Or have that term?
You would never hear other ethnic groups, at least not as a whole, you might hear individuals that were raised around black people in black neighborhoods use it. But it's simply because there are certain words that we use, even in their translation, that have a different meaning altogether in Africa, but there's a natural correlation because we still use them, right?
Right.
For example, in many African languages, the word to sit literally means to sit, but it also literally means your home or where you dwell or where you live or where you receive instructions. So if you out in the street, Brother Brown, and you acting a damn fool, one of the first things we ask is, who raised you? You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because at a certain point, you're not even responsible. The responsible party is the people that raised you, right? You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Who raised your ass?
You know what?
And
that's only something the African Americans would understand because
or say
because
a European would say, "What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?" The first thing somebody say, you in the store running around, where your parents?
Who
raised you?
Who raised you?
Who raised you? Right. And if the person that was tasked with raising you hears that, oh, that hurts. Don't it hurt?
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts more than one way.
Absolutely. It hurts their psyche. It's gonna hurt you in a minute.
Exactly.
On your backside. There's an African proverb that literally says from West Africa, if the ears on your son's head don't work so well, try the ears on his backside and see if you get results. You hear what I'm saying? There's Maya Angelou. Who raised you? You know what I'm saying? Let me read a couple, if I can, a couple African proverbs that help drive this point home as we try to make this make sense. There's a Swahili proverb that says, "The bird does not think that his own nest is shabby." Let's correlate that with us.
Okay.
We think everything white is better than what we got. So if you look at a bird, how it constructs its nest, it'll look disjointed and out of place and sticking everywhere, right? For his needs, for his eggs and his mate, that nest is perfectly displayed. He don't care what you think about the way it look. We should take on this attitude. Stop trying to explain things we do to other groups of people. It's none of their business and none of their concern. Right. You understand? There's another African proverb. If nobody praises one must praise himself. That's an Edo proverb. Stop looking for validation from other groups.
Yes.
Give it to yourself. There ain't but about 4 people on this planet that I give a damn what they think about me, Brother Brown. 2 of them gave me life. 1 of them I got to go through life with. A couple of them I brought into life, and the ultimate one makes the decision where I go after I live this life. Them the only ones I care about. You understand? So you can think what you want. Another proverb. One's buttocks, even if skinny, still is for sitting. That's an aroma proverb. That's where the word aroma comes from, because guess what they discovered?
What's that?
Coffee beans. So you see how that works?
Right.
They know more about us than we know. Here's another proverb. The water from one's pond must be drawn by himself, meaning that your outlook, your aspect on how you think about yourself, how you want your children to think about themselves, you got to create that for them. Stop trying to go to a Europhile for an African perspective. Right. You're not going to get it. Right. And the results are only going to confuse you. You understand? Right. Every bird flies with his own wings. You ever seen a sparrow wanting to be an eagle?
No.
You ever seen a sparrow trying to hitch a ride on a blue jay?
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Knowing who you are, where you come from, why you do what you do, gives you enough self-esteem to refuse handouts and do for yourself. Because that, more importantly, that example is what your children will follow, right?
Right.
Couple more. When a snake or some other animal leaps out of the forest, throw whatever is in your hand. Meaning that whatever God gave you at that time is sufficient. Whatever you have will work. I don't give a damn if you got to throw your quarters at it. Throw it and deal with it. And don't run back to your village or your house trying to look for your gun. You bringing the trouble home. Deal with your enemy. In this case, in this proverb, an animal, a wild animal. Deal with it and face it with whatever you got to deal with it with, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's from the Borlong people.
Mm-hmm.
These African traditions and these proverbs, we still live by them.
Dude,
just don't know the source for
I
them.
love that one right there, boy. That hit home right there.
Check this one. Having a family farming field does not prevent you from digging your own. Does that make sense?
Say it again.
Having a family farm field, does not prevent you from digging your own.
So don't just inherit it. Start.
Or if you think you can do it a little better. Don't tear down what uncles and aunts are doing.
Right.
Go strike out on your own.
Right.
For those who think that Asar Imhotep is kind of a far field by wanting to create a new African American religion, you don't study much African history. It's a very African thing from those who break apart to start their own thing. Because what worked for them ain't gonna work for you in this new endeavor you got, right?
Right.
We talked about the Bantu people in the Amazulu last week. All these people were different people before they became what you know as the Zulu Nation, right? It's a very African thing that when you leave home, if you want to start a new people, you remember those traditions, but you have to start your own because a lot of them ain't gonna work. Right. In the condition you're in, out there makes sense. Go ahead, though, brother Brown.
No. I'm just soaking it all in, brother. I'm just soaking it all in. But let me ask you this, man.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to get away from the home training lessons and everything. Of that nature.
This is all.
No. It's all filled in. I definitely understand that. But we were talking about home training lessons and everything that we got growing up.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me an example of one, man? Cause I know, man.
Give me an example.
That man, cause I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't. But me and my brother got into a lot of stuff when we were younger, man. We were brothers. We got into stuff, man.
Yes, sir.
And the last thing, because when you said, "Who raised you?" Now, and I talked about my mother before the show started.
Absolutely.
When it comes to comedy, man, my mother was one of the funniest females I've ever met. Like, and because growing up, dude, she was, and her mouth was just, man, that was very sharp. And we wasn't the most healthiest kids growing up. We wasn't. We just, we had a lot of flaws, man. We were lazy. We wasn't playing. We played in the house, so we didn't go outside much until we got a little older. And my mother let us know that each and every chance she got.
Yeah.
It was, and I don't want to. Well, I'm just gonna let you know it's a little choice language. So if people are listening,
go ahead.
But one of the things my mother used to say, and I never forget it. And she probably, if she was, coming through this era, she'd probably be, tarred and feathered with what the shit she said. But I never forget it, man. We was in Sam's.
Okay.
It was in Sam's. And they was giving out
them store stories. They never good. They don't never end good.
We was in Sam's and they were giving out free samples.
Oh man.
And me and my brother got a free sample one time, and then we had those little cocktail minis on a stick, right?
Yeah.
So we circled around and got another one and another.
Yeah.
And after a while, it got to the point where we was like, we wasn't even hungry. We just
doing it.
So my brother just took a whole bunch of them, right? And the old lady was like, hey, son, you can't do that. Where's your mama at? Who raised? And she was an older white lady. And she said, who raised you? Ooh. You ain't got no home training.
Oh.
So everything that you talking about right now,
yes, sir.
She went down the whole damn list. Just so happened my mama was coming up the aisle with my grandmama.
Oh, no.
She turned that corner, and
no.
she saw my brother with all those. and for people who don't understand, back when you was a kid, if your brother did something and you was there, y'all both, you did it too. Man, when I tell you, and they didn't care about what other people thought. She gonna raise her kids the best way she wanted to.
Absolutely.
And she looked at my brother right in his eyes and said, "You little fat fuck, if you don't put that shit down and get your ass over here." And I walked over there and she smacked the shit out of me because she said, "Why you let your little brother
why
do
you
it?"
didn't stop him. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was the first lesson I got in home training.
In home training. Well, there's a difference. You got many home training lessons before that.
Right.
That was an example of a re-instruction, a public re-instruction. That's going to fit into it. I'll give you an example of home training that I got and a public re-instruction. I'm in the backyard helping my dad, and sometimes he would have me do stuff just to keep me busy so I wouldn't get in trouble.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So he was building something, and I mean, for a 10-year-old, it looked like it was a billion bricks. And he told me to like sweep over something. I did it quick. He said, "Okay, all right, son, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take this pile of bricks, and I want you to put them over there." Okay. So I moved the bricks. And then I said, "I'm finished." He said, "You know what? I think it'd be a good idea for you to put all those bricks back." I said, "All of them?" He said, "Son, go in the house, get a dictionary, look up what all mean, and come back out here and move all them bricks." That's home training. Don't question. Do the job. Do what I'm asking you to.
Dude, my dad did the same thing. It wasn't bricks. It was wood.
Okay.
They had just chopped the tree down, and we were gonna use it for firewood. He told, it was one Saturday morning. My mama, she was gone somewhere. Me and my brother didn't get a chance to go with our mama, so we knew we was going to do some work in the yard. You know what I'm saying? So Daddy got us out there about 5 o'clock in the morning and chopped down a damn tree. He said, "All right, boys, I want you to take this pile of wood, and I want you to move from here to that tree right there. And once you get all the wood, move from here to that tree over there. I want you to take the wood from that tree and then move it to the garage. And once you move it to the garage, I want you to stack it up." And I said, because I thought I was being educated. You know, I thought I was making a good point. And this is why I learned, if you're a kid and your parents tell you something, guess what? You ain't got no good points to make.
Absolutely not.
Basically, what they say goes. Shut the hell up and do what they tell you.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, Dad, wouldn't it be smarter and quicker?" Why in the hell did I say that? To just take it from here to the garage and stack it up.
Smarter than what he just told you to do.
I said, and stack it up once you get there. That way you're killing a lot of birds with one stone. You know that I thought he was gonna be like, "Hey, son, that's a good idea." That's what I thought he was gonna say. When he said, and I quote, "You little motherfucker, if you don't do that shit the way I told you to do it, I'm gonna beat your ass out here, and then you gonna do it."
Yeah. Hey, you learn not to question.
and this is how I know my brother ain't shit, because he had already started moving it.
Hey, you let him take all that food in that house, so he let you say that. But home training at home, right? And then when you get in public, this is a public re-instruction. It's going to make sense in a minute. An example of a public re-instruction would be, you about to go in the grocery store. Now you in the car, and the key turned, the car shut off, and Daddy looked in the back seat. He said, "When we go in this store, you don't want nothing. You don't ask for nothing. You ain't running around picking up stuff. And I'm going to let you push the cart, but if you hit me in the back of my legs with this cart, I'm going to figure 4 leg like you in the middle of the aisle." That's a public re-instruction, right? So I think that this millennial age and this new group of people thought that they were raised too harshly. So a lot of the traditions that we had that made us pretty good, I don't know. I think we turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
They think a lot of it was barbaric. And they have ceased and desist on a lot of their training. And you see these young people out here dressing a damn fool, acting a damn fool, talking any kind of way, because they didn't get these instructions at home when they should have, right? 2 books that I did not bring, so I provided pictures for anybody that wanted to. I don't know how I forgot the book. The first one is give me 1 second. The Basic Black. Home Training for Modern Times by Karen Bates and Karen Hudson. And the updated edition is called The New Basic Black, right? Let me read to you a little of the premise of those books. Home Training for Modern Times, newly revised manual on etiquette that has become an African-American classic. Unlike more traditional etiquette books that many African Americans find boring and off-putting and culturally alien to them, the New Basic Black is for real African American people who live real lives, and it addresses many of the issues and growing pains of a black middle class. Straightforward, user-friendly, and illustrated with line drawings. The New Basic Black includes all the information any well-mannered person would want for themselves and also for their children. Let's look at some basic home training things, right?
Okay.
Before you enter someone's house, you should have gotten instructions at home as a child that you don't just barge in.
Right.
You wait to be invited.
Right.
In this new generation, how many times do you see that law broken all the time? Just think that they can run around you trying to be nice, oh, little Joey. If you don't sit, just tearing up stuff. They haven't been receiving the proper home training at home. You meet an adult, and you hear your parent call him John, so you call him John. That's a clear example that you haven't been given, that y'all hadn't received any home training because you don't address an adult the same way an adult addresses an adult.
Yes, sir or ma'am.
Yes, sir or ma'am. And there was a time, Brother Brown, in the African-American community where sir or ma'am were almost holy terms. You see what I'm saying? You were breaking rules by not football coaches. You see people now call the coach by their first name.
Right.
It was sir or it was coach, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the coach would order you to put a sir on the end of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Put a sir on the beginning and the end of anything you say to me, son.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? We don't have that anymore. And I think that we suffer.
You know, it's sad. It's sad because even now, I mean, I catch myself sometimes because I still say sir or ma'am.
Absolutely.
To my peers.
I'll tell you a funny story. Me and a couple of my friends, we were in a restaurant and the line was long and we was waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this older lady, and it's obvious she had grandchildren with her. And one of the oldest grandchildren was kind of acting up. And they were sitting because we had offered our seats to the older lady, right? And we standing.
Yeah.
And the boy just kept going on. And eventually she said, "Sit down!" While you're at home, to teach your child that please and thank you will get you a lot further.
Man.
Than, yeah. And I'll take one. Mr. Johnson, my name is so-and-so. I go to so-and-so elementary school. You see what I'm saying? That's training for how to articulate yourself at an older age. You look a person in the eye when you're talking to them. You know, pay attention to authority. You know what I'm saying? All of this is lost because it all comes down to, there was a time period. A lot of people in this age after us, I call them millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Are they about what, 30 now?
I'm not sure. I think so.
They're having children and they're not spanking them or disciplining them. They're not. It's cool now for those children to call their parents by their first name,
which is crazy.
It's crazy. You get a totally different result. Just go out there on the streets and see what you get as a result of that. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to, as Yo Gotti say, go back to the basics. And home training is an African tradition.
I've been saying that. It's like, dude, I'm so glad you touching on this today, man, because this is a art form that's lost, man. It's like No, I can't say that because I see my brother and how he raises his kids. And one thing that I will say about what he's doing, he's bringing them up basically how we were brought up.
Right.
But I hear so many kids, like if they parents say something, they be like, what?
Absolutely.
What the hell is what? I ain't no way.
No.
I could not even force my mouth to say what if money was on the line.
Right.
I'm not doing it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Something.
Yeah, it was never no what. Now I might stretch the yes ma'am out of like yes ma'am or something like. But it was always a ma'am or yes sir.
Absolutely.
Like ain't none of that. No, what? Now, are you crazy?
Absolutely. Now, we talked in previous episode. This might have been a year ago, so I don't know if you remember. Remember when we talked about the Ashanti stool?
Yeah.
And how the king of Ghana had a stool.
Yeah.
That his power reflected the rule of the ancestors, meaning that they believed that if they lost this stool or let somebody take this stool, they would lose the ability to rule their own. And there was a golden stool that they had that has a throne of its own. It was a stool that the ancestors, the kings that ruled before him. I think we got a picture before that one. Of the current Ashanti king. And I'm going to show you how much importance is placed on a seat. He's sitting on the throne that the current ruler sits on, right? But if you look next to him, there's another throne, and on it is the golden stool. That's how much reverence that they have for the rulers that came before him. And that stool is a visual example of what we finna talk about, a seat, right? Why is a seat so important? Well, in a lot of African languages, like I said, Chiluba, for example, that's spoken mainly in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, right? Chiluba literally means have a seat. But guess what else it could be translated to?
What?
Come home, visit, stay, behave. Okay, in Zumba is you have a word Chiluba that you can translate to mean dwelling, house, abode, domicile, home, hut, field, cell, unit, family unit. Okay, why do we correlate a seat, a chair, a throne? Most people don't know what a throne is. A throne is not just somewhere where the king sits. That's a seat of power. You understand? Some people in the listening audience may have a great-grandmother that has a chair nobody can sit in, but it's still in the room. Why? Because the man of the house who worked himself to death to pay for that house, who died 20 years ago so you can live in that house, that was his chair. So it stays there. That's an Africanism from like that stool. You see what I'm saying? In Nuvandan, the word for seat is the same as the word for welcome. When it literally means please have a seat, which can be correlated to please come home. You see what I'm saying? There's a powerful correlation in all of these words. I want to give you another example. We've all heard of the term hotep. Hotep can mean many different things. We commonly in the West use it for peace. Hotep, brother, you know what I'm saying? Something that I very much disagree with is it has become a derogatory term for somebody like me. Somebody that ain't into this type of information would call me one of them hotep brothers. But they could call their friend my nigga. So you change a derogatory term to mean something good. My friend, my nigga, my my boy. Yeah. But somebody that's trying to spread knowledge, you call me a hotep. When a hotep literally is an ancient holy word, and you're defaming or you see how we do that? Right. Yeah. We got a long way to go. Hotep or hotepper, sometimes used in collagen, but mainly in that old ancient African Kemetic language, right? Where you heard hieroglyphics or more appropriately the Meduneta. They don't have vowels. So we put some of those vowels in because we ain't old enough to have heard the language speak. We try to translate what it would have sounded like because they didn't use vowels, right? The word literally You know, do you understand what I'm saying about hieroglyphics? Like the written language before they had script, which they would develop before anybody else, they use pictures.
Yeah.
That's the word for home. What is he doing?
Having a seat.
Having a seat, right? What's the correlation there, right? Tepseti, place on top, to sit. Cause to sit down, to enthrone. Hotep, to stay. These are varying meanings of the word hotep, okay? To sit down, to stay seated. Tai imptun, which is really Coptic. Tep in who cheret, sit on the throne, chair. You see what I'm saying? Teb, to rest, to stay, to sit. Tebes, relax, rest, to behave. Hotep in collagen. Kakam. Some of these words I'm not going to even try to pronounce because they don't have the vowels. It's just no translation, right?
Right.
But it would be translated, we're going to spell it, TPJ. He who is on or over or above someone, sitting above, a leader, a chief, a father, a captain, a judge. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You understand the correlation right here? In many African languages, when you want to tell somebody, let's talk, maybe you see all these rappers that are being killed lately. Mm-hmm. In our day, it was Tupac and Biggie, and that just blew our minds. Now a rapper getting killed every week.
It's like the norm.
Right,
they post it
right.
out or something like that.
It starts off of basic disagreements that young men who didn't have the proper level of home training don't know how to deal with disagreement. Me and you are good friends. We don't see eye to eye on everything.
Damn,
but
sure
we know how to sit down and talk things over. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. You keep talking about Beyond the Michael.
But the point I'm making is home training covers all the basics. How to deal with someone that has upset you. Mm-hmm. How to deal with someone that you have upset. How to deal with someone who doesn't have the same viewpoint as you. Right. You don't resort to violence and kill somebody. You was mad at him because he had on the wrong color. A few minutes later, the man's life has been taken.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? This deals with all of this. A quick book for anybody interested in such things. I think they can see.
Yeah, they can see that.
The Hero with an African Face. Mystic Wisdom of Traditional Africa by Clyde W. Ford.
In My Father's House.
In My Father's House. Africa and the Philosophy of Culture. Kwame Anthony Appiah.
Yeah.
And this is Tony Brown, the great Tony Brown. From a lot of people grew up on Tony Brown's journal. What Mama Taught Me. The 7 core values of life. Now let me ask you a question, Brother Brown. How we doing on time? How much time we got left?
We got about I think 15 minutes. So you good?
Okay. If everything that I've told you, right? Okay, I got on my teacher's cap.
Okay.
You got on your good student's cap. If everything that we've discussed, what's the main word you'll say that is a correlation between our behavior in our natural state on the African continent as a people in terms of how to deal with life at home and in public, and African Americans who don't even really know or realize that they came from another place or that they had different tribal affiliations that carry on these same traditions, right? Mm-hmm. What's the main word that we've talked about?
Sit.
Sit, absolutely. Okay, right where I want to be. Sit can be correlated with what other word?
Down.
Or home.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Bro Brown, if you out in the streets, in these here streets or these here public places, mm-hmm. and you see somebody acting a damn fool, what would you say?
I would say this. Go sit your ass down somewhere.
Absolutely.
And you know what? That looks like one of my aunties right there.
Absolutely. We all can resonate with that. But listen, no other race or ethnic group, when faced with someone that's behaving or not acting as they should, says that. They'll say a lot of things, but why is sitting important? Because when you sit, you should be calming down.
Right.
You should be resting your mind. You should be going over the lesson that you learned and correcting yourself. You understand?
Right.
Let's go to the next picture, Brother Brown. Anybody as old as I am remembers this guy from the Martin Show, Angry Man. Now, what would Angry Man say when Martin would be just acting all crazy?
Man, sit your ass down.
Absolutely. Now, why would he tell him to sit down?
Because he's acting crazy.
And he needs to
calm down.
He needs to calm down and think about what he's doing to have a re-instruction, right? How many times have you been told by an elder to sit your ass down somewhere?
Boy, I can't.
Many times.
If I had a let's say a quarter for every time I've been told that, I'd be rich.
Absolutely, and most of the time it's in the home. Remember, African tradition, the word for sit or sitting is a lot of times the same word for home or dwelling. Okay, let's go to the next one. These ain't Photoshop. These just stuff that's already in the culture. I'm just showing you what I'm doing is showing you that you do these Africanisms, these things from the continent, and you don't know that you do. And how do you know that? Because nobody else does it. That's Denzel Washington. You've had your fun. Let's use our best elder voices going up. You've had your fun. Let's sit your ass down somewhere. This is what you're doing. It's an Africanism, right? Let's go to the next one, brother. You better calm down and go sit down somewhere. This is called home training. You running around, you done made a peanut butter sandwich, and you still got the butter knife and you running around. Go sit your ass down somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? Go to the next one, Brother Brian. Listen, everybody know this look. I know this look. Sometimes your dad didn't even have to say go sit your ass down. He could just look at you. If you don't sit your ass down somewhere, look. All you had, a person of authority only had to look at you in a certain way, and you knew it meant to go sit your ass down somewhere.
We done stopped in our tracks.
Absolutely, and we don't have that no more. You understand? Next picture. This is my favorite T-shirt. Go sit down somewhere. Signed every black mama in the world. Now, I'm going to buy a lot of them and hand some of them out, you know what I'm saying, on a daily basis. Next picture, Brother Brown. Sometimes a child is acting so crazy, or a teenager, or some of these adults, that we say this, you're doing too much. Go sit your ass down somewhere. Next picture. When he says that he is single, but his marriage license is still active, go sit your ass down somewhere. I'm going to need you to have several seats while I sip on this tea. Now, check this out, Brother Brown. Your behavior, this is a go-to for sisters, right, and mothers. Your behavior can be so bad that one seat ain't enough. You got to have them go have several seats. You understand what go sit down many times.
You know what? That right there scares me. You know why?
Why is that?
Because I know if my mama told me to go sit down or you better sit your ass down, you better take several seats.
Yeah.
And she's drinking something, I'm finna get my ass beat.
That means you don't just need re-instruction. You need multiple re-instructions. Go have several seats.
Yeah, I'm finna get my ass beat.
Yeah, it ain't no more talking.
No, ain't no more talking at that. I'm gonna get my ass beat there, and I'm gonna get another one when my daddy get home.
Absolutely.
And if I got whoever visits that might end up with my ass too. They don't understand man.
Sometimes several seats equate to several beatings.
Right.
Next picture. Have several seats, darling. You so out of pocket that just going to have one seat ain't enough. Let's see the next one. This is from the culture now. This little Olivia from the Cosby Show. Have a seat. In fact, have several seats, boo. That's how you acting. Your behavior is so unhomelike that you need to sit down multiple times. Got one more. Calling your pastor because that one Shrek-looking chick need to have several seats. What else we got? That's Whoopi Goldberg. Now everybody know that look.
Yes.
Now I can't remember in the movie why she's giving somebody that look, but what's the name of that look?
Sit your ass
down somewhere, look, and receive some more re-instruction.
Hey, this next one, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't have got nobody else to portray this character. But the person they got, and he struck fear in my heart to the point where I was like, man, if I ever had somebody call home from school, I would not want him to answer the phone. This guy here is like, a lot of people don't understand why that authority figure was so powerful for that show, because this is what we grew up with.
That's the carbon copy. Like, they got him right,
man.
Sit your ass down somewhere. That's James Evans. I remember James Evans would whoop other kids that came over to visit because they was acting crazy. But that was the epitome of a disciplinarian in our culture. You understand what I'm saying? And one of the reasons many of us don't get our behinds beat on the street is because we got our behinds beat at home when we need it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That's not barbarity. That's discipline. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And at a certain age, you don't do the right thing because you're an angel. You do the right thing because you don't want the
exactly, dude.
And we don't understand that.
But I said that I was like, that these kids have no idea
of consequences.
Exactly.
That's why they in jail, because they didn't think nothing was gonna happen to them. You have to show them that
they don't feel consequences because they don't know. It's like
they never had them.
Right.
But you do the right thing not because you St. Paul.
Dude.
You do the right thing because you know what'll happen to you.
I told people all the time, I wasn't scared of the police or the fact of jail and all that. I was scared of what my father would do.
Absolutely.
He had to come down there and get my ass out.
Absolutely. And we need to get back to this. I think we got a couple more.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to work on time. I'm trying to keep it to an hour. Sit your $5 ass down before I make change. Now, is that a saying that you heard?
That's definitely a saying.
Now,
I heard.
Sometimes this saying doesn't come from a parent. It might come from an older sibling or an older teammate that's keeping. You know how Africanism, we got a system. Parents walk away. Sometimes the elder sibling is in charge.
Right.
Coach walk away. Sometimes the senior is in charge.
Right.
And they have a different way of conveying that. This is where you get this from. But these are all Africanisms that we brought with us. We don't know if we still do it. But my favorite one of them all is the President of the United States. I ain't gonna say the middle word. Sit your B ass down and shut the blank up. And sometimes we need that, and we need to get back to it, right?
Exactly.
Do you see that correlation?
Yes.
Now, some people may think it's a stretch. Some people know right where I'm at. My goal was to show that what you're doing that's unique to any other ethnic group is not a coincidence. It came from somewhere. Now, what I want you to do now is go study where that came from. Why does in African languages to sit down or to have a seat correlate with behavior in a house or a home or a abode or a dwelling? You understand what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense, and I hope people got that lesson and had some fun with it.
Man, that was a much needed dude. When I sit over here, man, and I'm more so of a spectator and a fan of the show as opposed to just producing and doing all the stuff behind the scenes. But today is one of those lessons I feel is much needed for today's society, man. A lot of these kids, and here's the thing, man. I'm tired of the let's do the walks and hold up. Start this shit at home. Now I'm not saying that everything is their fault, you know what I'm saying, as far as because there are some circumstances where people will just out of pocket and do something. But let's go ahead and make sure we got everything tight and right on our end before we start marching and all that and losing another child.
Absolutely.
Because we can correct a lot of stuff that we doing at home.
All of it can be corrected.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you knew you were supposed to be doing it.
Right.
And next time somebody asks you who raised you, you ought to feel bad and strive not to. Because one African fundamental is that you aren't you. You are who gave you birth. You are who you play for if you're on a team. You didn't do it. The Lane College Dragons did it.
Yep.
Will didn't steal that stuff. A Lane student stole this stuff. But let me leave you with let me leave you with 2 quick points. Malcolm X, the most powerful thing. Malcolm X said a whole lot of things that were powerful, but one of the most powerful things that he ever wrote came from his time in prison. And he said, I have often reflected upon the new vistas that reading opened for me. I knew right there in that prison that reading had changed forever the course of my life. As I see it today, the ability to read awoke inside of me something that had been long and dormant, craving to be mentally alive. That's powerful because he didn't say something was dead inside of him. Mm-hmm. He said something was dormant. That means hibernating.
Right.
We all have this,
right.
Do a little reading and the intellectual practice will stimulate you in more ways than you thought it could. Last thing, the African mind understood that there is something about sitting and sitting down that is in direct correlation with your behavior. Sitting and resting your mind, receiving proper reinstructions from forebearers or from yourself. An expression of African-American new tradition is to sit down or have a seat or sit your punk ass down when you ain't behaving the way you supposed to. We're going to keep it right there, Brother Brown. I'm trying to do a good job on the time. Right now, I'm finna go see the home team heroes at Jackson State University Tigers, coached by Deion Sanders, who just absolutely destroyed Michael Irvin every time they got on the field. And by the time the audience watches this podcast, they would have already whooped them. So, yay, Deion. Michael Irvin was all right. I'll give you the last word on that because that wasn't fair.
You know what, Sam?
For those who don't know, Deion Sanders was one of my favorite defensive backs. And I started out as a DB. And Brother Brown started out as a wide receiver. And at Lane, we used to emulate our heroes, and he was always Irvin, and I was always Deion. And I just can't get this young man to understand why Deion could shut down Irvin like that. But go ahead, bro. I'll give you the last word.
In the words of a great... No, I'm just...
well, if you want to take the opportunity, I will, okay? We'll see you next week. In the words of 2 great people, in the words of great Harriet Tubman, we out. In the words of Deion Sanders, talking to Mike Irvin, sit your ass down. We out.